Hello, this is Chaplain Paul, and today I'm making a video to discuss the Ninth Amendment to the Constitution. And I'm making this video probably for a tool that I'll share with our elected officials. So if you listen to it, thanks. Maybe I'll talk to you soon. Okay, and that's Sunny back there. And the Ninth Amendment to the Constitution, and you could Google it, it's pretty short. Um, it basically the founding fathers put it in the Constitution to cover rights that aren't in the Constitution because they knew that we have certain inalienable rights, human rights. They couldn't list them all. Okay, and then there would be rights in the future that they couldn't even foresee that need to be covered. You know, and so the Ninth Amendment was created, and there's debate on there's certain rights where it's debated, gray area rights, the right to have an abortion for one, okay? But then there's human rights that are basic. Uh, for instance, having children. We have the right to have children. It's not in the Constitution. Uh, Planting a garden, growing our own food. Okay, that's not in the Constitution. Getting married is not in the Constitution. There's different things that we have rights for that are human rights, uh, and one of which is to be treated humanely in American healthcare. That is a basic human right. That is not something that even could be debated as not being part of the Ninth Amendment. That is the epitome of the Ninth Amendment. It is a basic human right to be treated humanely, okay, fairly, okay. It is a human right to have somebody who loves us be by our side in order to protect and love us when we are in a healthcare setting or a healthcare facility, hospital, nursing home, care center, medical rehab, whatever it is. If there's someone that loves us, because I know there's a lot of people that are alone, so I can't say that you have a right to be loved. Okay, you have the right to have somebody who loves you, who wants to be by your side to help care for you, show you the compassion and love, encouragement that we all need in order to have a fighting chance for survival. We have a basic human right, civil right, patient's right, and constitutional right to have that. Well, during COVID, what happened? They locked everybody away. They said, "Oh, we got to protect the people from the vaccine." Excuse me. We have to we have to protect everybody from the virus. Well, what about protecting the patients from the staff? That was thrown out the window. Yes, you can protect the patients from the virus by having visits by appointment and having it in an orderly fashion and having maybe one visitor instead of five or four or three family members coming in all at once. You could have one come in at a time by appointment. Uh, Instead of staying 8 hours a day, you could stay 4 hours a day. It could have been arranged, okay? And it could have been very safe. You screen the patients, you take their temperature at the door, and it could have been in an orderly fashion, and it could have saved lives because millions of long-term care patients died all alone in isolation because isolation wreaks havoc on our mental health, our spiritual health, our physical health, and our emotional well-being. So what happened? They put the people in isolation. They threw our rights out the window. Not only that, our elected officials who are supposed to read the Constitution and defend our rights, they took an oath. They took an oath to defend our constitutional rights, and they didn't do it. Well, a majority of them didn't do it. There are some that did, but a majority of them did not do that. And for that reason, they need to resign. If we as a people are not going to hold them accountable for this, then what are we going to hold them accountable for? This atrocity is like the American Holocaust. That's what it's like. Okay, what happened? All right, it's like the American version of the Holocaust. All right, and the deal is that in a way, okay. So I don't get people angry comparing what happened during COVID to the deal is patients were locked in isolation without any visits. That is That is a Holocaust. And then they died all alone. That's horrific. Okay. I got COVID. Okay. I was comforted by somebody holding my hand. I was able to fall asleep and be relaxed just by having a family member hold my hand. That was denied these patients. Can you imagine being sick, suffering dearly in the bed, all alone, with no comforts like that? It's a living hell. That is a Holocaust. Okay? That's a tragedy and a horrible mistake that this nation made. And what happened? Everybody went along with it because we don't know what our rights are. We don't know how to exercise them. We don't know how to defend them. We don't know how to teach them to others. We elect people into office thinking that they know our rights and freedoms and are going to automatically defend them. And I got news for you, it ain't happening. Most of these people probably never read the Ninth Amendment to the Constitution. They don't know how to defend it. They don't know that it applies to nursing home care centers, medical rehab, uh, uh, hospital patients. So they didn't get out there and speak up in defense of those rights so that these poor people can be treated humanely. That didn't happen. Patients I loved dearly died all alone in isolation. Luz was a woman that I loved dearly. She died in isolation. Patrick, he reminded me of Santa Claus. His family came every day to visit him. All right. When he was put in isolation, he died. Why did he die? Of a broken heart, because his family was everything to that man. My friend Greg, okay, who's paralyzed from the neck down, the nicest guy you can meet in your life. I write stories of Fumba the elephant. I made him Greg the humble sea turtle. He said, I said, Greg, if you were an animal, what would you like to be? And this is how I write the patients in the story to lift them up, okay, and give them encouragement. And he said a turtle, and I thought a land turtle or a tortoise. He said no, a sea turtle. And that's what he looked like laying in the bed. He looked like a sea turtle. And so I made him Greg the humble sea turtle. He died all alone in isolation. Well, I would go in the room, and the first thing he would say is, "How's Paul doing? How's Paul doing?" A man paralyzed from the neck down. He's worried about me and my family. All alone, died in isolation. Okay, that is disgraceful. And any elected official who remains silent is just as guilty and needs to resign. I'm sorry. You took an oath of office. The oath that our elected officials take, if they break it, what's the consequences? And as far as I can see, there is none. They're supposed to be held accountable by the people. But if we're not involved and we're not going to these hearings and we're not calling them on the phone, if we're not constantly seeing what they're doing, then corporate comes in and hijacks them. And then over time, our rights and freedoms get weakened because corporate, it's in their best interest to weaken our rights and freedoms so they can make more money. Okay, this is what happened in Arizona. In Arizona, the safeties and regulations in Arizona long-term care got weakened and less and less and less until now they're grossly ineffective and very dangerous. There was four uh, inspections a year in long-term care by the Arizona Long-Term Care Licensing Department. Four. Now there's one. Well, how did that happen? It happened because the industry came in and the people didn't didn't know because we put so much faith and trust in our elected officials. It's a free for all. We don't want to get involved. We don't have the time. We're on a wheel trying to just make ends meet, trying to pay our bills. And so we elect these people based on blind trust, and they get in there and they don't do their job. The Health and Human Services Committee, all right, on the House and Senate, they're supposed to hold public hearings that hold these agencies accountable. The Arizona Ombudsman, the Arizona Adult Protective Services, Arizona Health Services, the Arizona Long-Term Care Licensing Department, and any other department that's charged with protecting thousands and thousands of long-term care patients. These committees are supposed to have public hearings holding those agency heads accountable when they're clearly not doing their job. That's not happening, or rarely. It rarely happens. And then nothing is resolved. They just tack on some cockamamie regulate. Oh, well, you're going to have to, instead of coming once a year, you're going to have to come in front of the Health and Human Services Committee 3 times a year. Well, and then the public's not even aware of it, so we can't even come and testify. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. You should have, if you're going to have the um, the uh, the director of health services or the administrator of Arizona Long-Term Care Licensing Department or any administrative head from any of these departments, what you need to do is you should reach out to the public, okay, and have patients that are in these facilities or have been in these facilities be able to testify through Zoom or other methods, okay, and then you should have the staff, the department heads, the owners, the family members, and people like myself and clergy and volunteers come and testify. There is no Arizona Long-Term Care uh, Joint Legislative Committee that's bipartisan. There is no Long-Term Care Caucus bipartisan. There isn't any. Why is that? You got every caucus under the sun. Every caucus under the sun except the Arizona Long-Term Care Caucus. Why is that? There is no staff to patient ratio in Arizona or nationally. Why is that? The statute was changed. The statute was changed, so now long-term care patients are no longer awarded attorney's fees. What does that mean? Back in the day, if you have basic form of neglect and abuse and mistreatment, like not being changed all night long or for hours, and you develop E. coli, MRSA, bed sores, rashes, infections, and other complications that are treated and healed, you could still sue because that's neglect, mistreatment, and abuse. You could still sue and basically get 10 or 20 grand. Well, they took awarding long-term care patients attorney's fees out of the equation. The attorney's fees could be $40,000 or more. So if you take that out, then nobody's going to take the case. So now those type of neglect, abuse, and mistreatment cases are no longer being taken by the attorneys unless you have the money, unless you're rich, and you don't care about spending the money because you want to do what's right. Uh, it's not being done. So that statute has to be changed back where attorneys' fees are awarded to long-term care uh, lawsuits. Whoever did that, whoever changed the statute needs to go to prison. All right, that needs to be exposed, and the person needs to go to prison. The Audit General did an audit in 2022, and in that audit, it was revealed that she did an audit of Arizona Health Services, and in that audit, it was revealed that complaints of that Arizona Health Services downgraded, dismissed, well, any investigation, hundreds and hundreds of very serious complaints of sexual and physical abuse committed against Arizona long-term care patients. Hundreds and hundreds. That means there's been no accountability. So that means there's a high probability that the staff are still working in these facilities, haven't been held accountable. Any other industry that this happened to is shut down. Okay, it would not be tolerated. I was told that, well, we have to protect the mom and pop long-term care facilities. No, you don't protect mom and pop. You protect the patients. You put the safety and well-being of the patients first. You don't protect mom and pop, okay, if they're running a slave ship for people that are sick and dying, okay? You shut them down. You go after them. There's nobody going in these facilities nights and weekends. There needs to be a task force created either by the legislature or by the attorney general or by the governor to go in nights and weekends to make sure these patients are being cared for properly. Patients waiting all night long to be changed. That's inhuman. That is a violation of our human rights, civil rights, patients' rights, and constitutional rights that human beings are being treated that way. Okay, there's a lot more. There's no chaplains in these facilities. It's not required. Well, you know what? Write legislation that would require it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know if you penalize them or reward them or whatever, but it's required in hospitals and prisons. So use the same method for long-term care facilities. All right. If it's required for hospitals and prisons, then use the same law. Expand that law that already exists to include long-term care facilities. Why not? It's ridiculous. Okay. I mean, patients that would have been healed and went home wound up dying that I love. Why? because they weren't cared for in a timely manner and developed E. coli, MRSA, bed sores, rashes, infections, bloody blisters, and other serious complications that landed them in ICU and straight in the grave. Why? Why is this happening? Why? Because there's no real leadership in our government. There's no real leadership. That's the problem. There's nobody saying, "Hey, enough is enough. We're going to have a press conference, and we're going to lay this out, and we're going to begin to develop a plan that's going to be able to to get information and then draft good bipartisan legislation with the governor involved and get this done, and not wait another 40 years in order to do something to help these people. It's got to be done now. People are dying. We're next in line. Whether you like to believe it or not, we're next. And that bed, I'm telling you right now, it's a living hell on wheels. Remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Seek to be the light in helping others for the glory of God.